Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Ways and Means Committee meeting for June 1st, 2002, 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yeah, he got.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
I'm sorry, Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Thank you. Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Chairwoman Davis.
Present.
7 present, you have quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll dispense with minutes and we'll move on. Tonight we're having a public hearing. The purpose is to allow those who are interested in having comments about our 2022-23 budget to share with us. We are not here to question anyone's thoughts. We're not here for debate. We're here to listen and get information. We will go with our normal process that is required by the board's rules. What I'd like to do, because we have such a small number of people who are speaking, is I would like to take a moment and swear everybody in at once. And then our clerk will move forward through the list and call you when it's time for you to speak. We will allow 3 minutes for your comments, and I won't hold that tight on the 3 minutes. If you're not totally complete with your thought process, I will allow you to finish, but you will be given the notice appropriately. What I'd like to do now is to ask that we all prepare ourselves to listen. I'd like to ask our speakers to prepare yourselves to share your information in a manner that will allow us, without having any controversy or unnecessary language that may not really pertain to anything, most especially not the budget, and be respectful in our presentations. I'd now like to ask all the speakers, please open your mic so that I may swear you in. And where we at, all you have to do is indicate an affirmative after I do the swearing. So if everyone's mic is open now, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen and its procedures for public hearing, do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? And you shall say,
I do.
so we only have one person online?
Oh, I said I do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay. We'll move forward. And let's see. So, Madam Clerk, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and proceed with the list.
The first speaker, no position, that's Mr. Jerry Conley.
All right, Mr. Conley, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairwoman Davis, members of the Ways and Means Committee. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today regarding the budget. I'm going to focus on operations of the city. Firstly, regarding public testimony at Board of Aldermen hearings, such as this, HUD's committee, for example, that I've appeared at a number of times, the format for these hearings is very frustrating. The board talks of engaging the community, So why not hold meetings in neighborhoods in order to hear from residents who don't have the technology to utilize Zoom? Currently, this forum does not allow us to ask questions of elected officials. Will you commit to holding meetings where you'll respond to questions from St. Louisans? Without questions and answers, testimonies in committee feel like talking to a brick wall. Misleading or false information is allowed to stand. Many committee chairs don't permit the public to rebut statements made by alderpeople during public hearings on legislation. If you actually value public input, this must change, starting today. Additionally, the committee meeting minutes should document the content of discussion. Committee votes need to be posted online. These missing elements are part of true transparency. Without them, the board is falling short. Moving on to the Affordable Housing Commission and use of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund funds. I was stunned by Director April Ford Griffin's report to this committee last week, where she stated that 3 of 5 positions in the department are currently vacant. In order to run efficiently, our city needs the commission fully staffed. As I've mentioned before in testimony to the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and to the Affordable Housing Commission, there's a growing pot of money at the St. Louis Development Corporation called the Sales Tax Exemption Fund. SLDC charges fees to developers who've received a sales tax exemption on construction materials for a development project. Per a report provided yesterday by SLDC, promptly in response to a sunshine request, there is currently $877,000 available for affordable housing in the sales tax exemption fund. These funds should be transferred to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Regarding the St. Louis Development Corporation, this week has provided 2 illustrations of the current systemic flaws in how development incentives are administered by the city. Developer Green Street almost boosted the value of its tax abatement on the 4591 McCree project by millions of dollars at the May 24th LCRA board meeting. Fortunately, that meeting was canceled. No one knows how much additional benefit the developer would have received, as there appears to be no updated financial analysis. St. Louis Public Schools would have lost out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in property tax revenue if LCRA had approved the resolution. The Board of Aldermen was not required to act on this particular resolution. Once a project resolution is added to a development board agenda, approval is practically guaranteed. The public needs to be given a voice in the development board meetings. All development board meeting recordings need to be posted online. Am I at my time, or do I have another 40 seconds?
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you. Finally, my comment regarding tomorrow's Industrial Development Authority board hearing. This is being conducted at noon. There's just one problem with the hearing. The IDA board members don't even attend their hearings. 4 of the current 5 appointees on this board are serving on expired terms. The opacity of the decision-making process and the lack of a rigorous and ongoing review process during the life of the abatement are necessary. Chairwoman Davis and Alderman Jeffrey Boyd, as members of the St. Louis Development Corporation Board of Directors, you have a unique role among your colleagues on the Board of Aldermen. Please use your position to insist on greater transparency and authentic public engagement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conley, for your position. And if you have that in writing, would you please email that to the Board of Aldermen's clerk, as well as to the Chief of Staff for the Mayor's office. I wanted to make sure that all your comments are received by all those who are responsible. Thank you.
Very good, I will do that.
Next
The
speaker,
next speaker is Michael Browning.
okay.
Hello, and
Go ahead.
thank you for letting me speak tonight. There are a lot of things that the city needs to address, but today I want to talk about buildings. Yeah, buildings. We know them, we love them, we work in them, we live in them. But the quality of these buildings really matters, and they have a direct impact on the people who use them. Yet today, our building division doesn't really seem to be up to code. I've heard that the building division is understaffed and that the city does not have enough inspectors. So the city needs to fund that, but there also needs to be some accountability. Even buildings that have been supposedly inspected are full of problems. Occupancy permits have been given to buildings that are still under construction and by no means safe. Some apartments and buildings and homes are under such disrepair that tenants are questioning whether the inspectors have been paid off by landlords. Funding this office does not mean throwing money at it only. It also means raising the bar. A city inspector that does their job well should pay for themselves. As I mentioned, there is no shortage of problematic buildings in St. Louis, but right now, big developers rack up complaints from citizens, but receive few or no citations from the city, while senior citizens get cited for minor violations when they already can't afford to fix their property, much less pay the fine. That's backwards, and it looks like the city is putting private profit over public well-being. I know that's not the city we want. And one last thing I want to mention, if I still have some time left, the Alder people need to give themselves staff. You guys do an incredibly hard job, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Your efficacy in your position can be boosted if you give yourselves the proper resources. It should be a priority as we look to elect a new board with 14 larger wards. Let's start on the right foot and give this city the personnel it deserves. Raise the
1 minute
pay,
left.
remove barriers to employment, and hire the best people we can, and we can watch this city rise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Browning. Do you have your comments in writing?
Yes, I do.
Please forward them to the Board of Aldermen clerk and also to the Chief of Staff for the Mayor's office.
Will do.
Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Inez Bordeaux.
Ms. Bordeaux, are you ready?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for doing public comments. I really appreciate it. I am actually going to testify again on Saturday, but I am here today. I'm sorry, Alderwoman Davis, do I need to do my name and my address and all of that stuff, or?
If you choose, I don't normally do that because most especially when I have someone who has spoken before.
Okay.
So go right ahead.
My name is Inez Bordeaux. I am here on behalf of the Defund, Re-envision, Transform campaign. And today I want to spend my 3 minutes talking about when, not this past Friday, but the Friday before, we brought community members, constituents, people who care about the future of the city, people who want to see our, our communities and neighborhoods invested in. We came to City Hall to see the members of the Board of Aldermen, to give them our defund toolkits that explain why it is those defund people are doing the work that we're doing, that those defund toolkits explain why it is we want to defund the police, what we want to see those funds invested in. It goes on to talk about how, like, we don't have anything against, at least I don't, specific police officers. We have issues with the institution of policing. We have issues with the fact that 35% of the general fund budget is spent on policing poor, unhoused Black folks. We spend $1 million on Spot Shotter that does not work. Cities all over this country are figuring out that ShotSpotter does not work. We spend millions of dollars on the Real-Time Crime Center surveilling poor, unhoused Black people, queer folks, so on and so forth. And we simply wanted to speak to the members of the Board of Aldermen about our concerns and explaining why we spend all day, every day organizing around defunding the police, divesting from carceral systems, divesting from the arrest and incarcerate model that does not work, that only causes more harm, trauma.
1 minute left.
To communities. And so I showed up today to really ask not just this committee, but the entirety of the Board of Aldermen, that when your constituents show up to speak to you, to explain to you why we're doing what we're doing, why they took time out of their day to come down to the Board of Aldermen and watch a meeting, when we show up to explain why it is that we're doing what we're doing, I would ask that you all take the time and be courteous enough to stop and talk to us, to listen, to not take the back way around to the meeting hall like so many of the alders did, to not argue and threaten people who show up to talk to their elected representatives, to not put your hand in our face and say, no, I don't want that. I don't want to see that. I would ask that, we're your constituents, listen to us. We're taking the time out of our day to show up, to email, to call, to show up and testify at meetings like this. And we expect to be heard. We expect to be heard and not given lip
That's time.
Thank you.
I'll go right ahead if you're not finished.
Thank you, Alderwoman Davis. We are simply asking to be heard and to be respected. And, when we try to give you our work product, the things that we've spent hours and days and weeks working on, the research that we've done, we want you to be receptive to us when we show up in those spaces. And from what I've seen so far, we don't get that. And the people of this city deserve that. And I'm asking you all to take that into consideration, not just for this meeting, but every public meeting, every time your constituents show up. Hear us, listen to us, show us that same respect that you all demand of us. Thank you for allowing me a few more seconds, Alderwoman Davis. Again, I appreciate you all doing this, and I look forward to having more to say on Saturday. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
And the last speaker is Chris Wilcox.
Mr. Wilcox, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Wilcox and I live in the 6th Ward. I chose to speak today because the true priorities of any city are reflected in its budget. And there isn't a word or sleight of hand that can fully obscure the material consequences of how a city allocates its resources. The reason we say defund the police is because it is material. You can't easily co-opt a movement when we can see, taste, and touch the consequences. It's not difficult to observe exactly how we choose to deal with the growing needs of our people in crisis. Just recently, I went to the CVS in the Central West End on Lindell. Toothpaste is locked behind glass along with other hygiene products, including some of the shampoo and body wash. We'll be told this is necessary because there is a rash of shoplifting, but pay attention to what is getting the extra security. Down the same aisle with basic hygiene items are hair products and cosmetics, some of which cost significantly more than the items that are locked behind glass. I don't think it's hard to see what this suggests about the specific kind of shoplifter they're spending time and resources to thwart, people stealing for survival and basic hygiene. Now, think of the police officer often sitting in their car in the parking lot who are paying significantly more to arrest the shoplifter than it would cost to simply provide food and hygiene for everyone who needs it. We know why we are always unable to meet the needs we all understand, because the budget, you can see how the police and surveillance cannibalize more of the government, where it has now swallowed 32% of the general fund. It uses more of the local use tax than all of its original purposes, health and housing combined. For every dollar that St. Louis spends on police, it spends a penny each for health and human services. So when I see people without a home or are hungry, I know why, because that's already been spent on police. And now, sorry about that. Now we say defund the police because our people's demands are as concrete.
1 minute.
We know what we don't need. We don't need ShotSpotter. We don't need the real-time crime center. We don't need SWAT. And we definitely don't need more police in a city that has more officers per capita than 97% of American cities. We need programs that food, clothe, soothe, and house, which I guarantee you will do more to reduce crime than any city could hope to do with any police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. If you could send your comments to the Board of Aldermen clerk and to the Chief of Staff, the Mayor's office. I did see that that email address was put in the chat if you don't have it. And Ms. Bordeaux, I'm assuming that you will also send your comments in as well. Madam Clerk.
That's the end of the speakers list.
Okay. Is there anyone who from the Board of Aldermen that is online? And I always identify you as speakers if you are not on the committee. If there's any other alderperson who is online that have comments. Okay. I don't see a hand. Okay, so we'll move forward. Oh, Alderman Vaccaro, I just saw your hand.
Well, and are you asking us not to respond to any of this? Because I certainly
We don't necessarily need to respond. Did you have something that you had to say?
Well, just so I was there 2 Fridays ago, and I started to try to be courteous until the guy shoved the phone in my face, told me I better armor up, the guy in the Lakers jacket. I better armor up. We know where you live.
Oh, wow.
Now, I let it go, but don't expect me to take your material if you're going to threaten me. And when you talk about people putting their hands, I was very courteous when I walked up. I said, if you can excuse me, I'm going to go to the men's room. When I come back, I'll sit down and listen to what you have to say. Guy shoves a phone up in my face, touching it to my nose. You want to kill Black people like us? I said, no, I'm not interested in defunding the police. You better armor up. You better armor up, his exact words. We know where your house is. You better armor up. No, the guy in the Lakers jacket. I know you're shaking your head no. There was witnesses to this. My friend Greg was in the hall with me, who's always with me. There was witnesses to this. If you want courtesy, also treat us with courtesy. Just because we don't exactly follow exactly what you want. You know, I didn't threaten anybody. I would have been courteous. And had they not been so whatever and so jerky, I probably would have had them let them come into a public safety meeting. But that whole you better armor up, we know where you live, it's a direct threat. So when you talk about us being discourteous, it goes both ways. And it really bothered me to hear that. I didn't put my hand in nobody's face, yet they shoved a camera, the guy in the Lakers jacket shirt, to my nose. You like killing Black people? I said, no, I'm not for defunding the police. Then you're for killing Black people. Even some of the people that were there with the defund pulled them back, saying, slow it down. But, you know, if courtesy goes it goes both ways. And I usually am fairly courteous, whether I agree or disagree with someone. But that one, when they say that it was all us, no. I was simply walking in, my friend was with me. The guy shaking his head, no, if he was there, if he was going to be honest, or if any of the group that are here from the defund the police, if they're going to be honest, they will tell you that the guy in the Lakers jacket, and it's on his camera, told me I better armor up. They know where I live. Anyway, that's my only comment. And so just for the defund group, I'm not for defunding the police. But if you treat people courteous, you'll get treated courteously. But when you actually really, I mean, that was about as rude a thing as I've ever seen. And so this is what comes back at too. So, and the gal with the Arch City Defenders, if you were there, you saw it, the guy in the Lakers jacket. And there were
I was
witnesses.
there. I was the person who told him to calm down.
And what did he tell me? He put a camera in my face, said I'm trying to kill black people, and told me
He
I
did put a
need to
camera in
armor
your
up. I
face.
need to
He
armor
did
up.
say that police are murdering black people. He
Right.
told you that we know where you live in
Right.
regarding to protest. He did not tell you to arm up.
He did. Look at his video.
I was right there, Alder
So was I.
Vaccaro.
He said I'd better armor
And
up.
it wasn't you that put your hand in anyone's face. I
Well, I
wasn't
try to be
saying that
courteous.
you did that.
And had they not been so whatever, you probably would have got an invitation to the public safety meeting to speak. And yes, he told me I better arm up. You know where I live, my house is.
Yeah,
Those are
we
threats.
know where
I-
we know where all of you live. It's public record, just like you guys know where we live, because Alder
Okay,
Boyd makes us
it's a-
tell you our addresses and
He
things
said
like
it is a
that.
direct threat. And look at
don't-
his video, listen to his
So
video.
I'm going to have to
Anyway,
interject.
okay,
Well,
I'm gonna jump off, but I'm just telling you, courtesy
Right.
goes both ways.
Okay, I can agree with the courtesy part. What I want to do is I want to intervene and end this because I'm not here for a back and forth. I really want to hear people's concerns about what is some new and different ideas and ways for us to service the city. Our budget is lean. We have some serious problems, and we tend to maybe look at them a little bit different. But I do know that we have made some strides to use some of the funding that would normally be for policing to operate and assist others in different ways for a better quality of life. We may not have all of the answers yet. We have a way to go, but I don't think it's necessary for us to be against each other. There's a lot of work to do. I also know that none of us can blame those who tend to take things to another level. As we have seen in the last few weeks, some people take measures to the extreme and for various reasons, whether it's intentional, or whether they have some other problems, health problems. But we do know that we have some issues here, and we're going to continue to address them. I know that a lot of the conversation is not always as healthy as it should be, but sometimes that comes with the territory. But I do expect people to be respectful. I don't believe that we have to be disrespectful. I don't believe that we have to threaten each other. I don't believe that we need to use unnecessary foul language. And it always impresses me when people think that's going to get a point across, because all of us could do it. I probably could do it the best of all of you. But at the end of the day, that doesn't get me anything. Because first of all, I can't hear you well enough when we do that. And that's why I say that I don't like for us to respond, because we should be taking notes. We should be listening well. When we go back to the table for deliberation, our conversation should be about what we've heard and how to work towards some of the goals that we know are necessary. We are in unfortunate times. I think that media has taken people to a less palatable way to get work done. And I wish I hadn't lost my voice. I hope it comes back at some point. It's been gone for almost 2 months now. But it really, really has a lot to do with, we all have to respect the work that we do. I can't do the work that some other people can do. but I can do work that with my experience that most would never think of. And so I want us all to respect each other. I've taken some good notes. I'm excited to read your comments again. I always go back and read them in a quiet space for myself. And we will continue to look at this budget. One thing that I do know as we move forward, our departments, those who are in charge of our departments, they have really took notice of what needs to be done. Their budgets are pretty thorough. We have a few little hiccups that we'll take care of. But as a whole, I think based on all the other funding that we have the ability in the next 2 to 3 years to apply to our problems, that we will get there. And I don't think there's any one specific way to do that. So again, I wanted to thank Paul Payne for being online. I don't think we have any specific questions on the budget as we move forward. I will make this statement again to the committee members. If you have a major concern, would you please send it to Paul so that he can look at it, help you get it in the appropriate format, because I don't want to get to the end of our time frame in working on this budget and we're scrambling trying to figure things out. As I shared with you, he works with this budget every day, and most especially for the last 6 months. He has worked with each department. He knows where the funding is, and he knows where he may be able to do some adjustments. So let's use the assistance that we have and not make this an unnecessary, problematic exercise. Again, was there any other committee members that had anything else they needed to discuss? Alderwoman Boyd, please go ahead.
I didn't have anything to discuss. I just wanted to thank all the community people that came out to speak this evening. And as Alderwoman Davis said, we will take in consideration some of the recommendations that you all have given us, and that we are glad that you are active in your communities to help everybody see the best way to go. And as I tell my residents in my ward, we might not always agree, but let's agree to disagree and be respectful at it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Were there any other committee members?
Madam Chair, I just want to thank you for the cool-headed, balanced way you handled the meeting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Ditto to what Alderwoman Howard just said pertaining to you, Alderwoman Davis. Yes.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. So, Madam Clerk, I have, 3 people to excuse?
I just have Alderman Boyd and Alderwoman Spencer.
Oh, I thought Alderman Oldenburg is here.
Yes, ma'am, he's here.
There you are. Okay. Okay, so we shall excuse those 2 alderpersons for necessary absence. And as we move forward on Saturday, it is very unfortunate that we can't meet in person. And we are just like anybody else. I know some people are doing things in person, but we've had a number of incidents already with COVID, and we have to be cautious. It's an unfortunate situation, but it is what it is. Today is Wednesday. I'm going to say to the committee people, I don't know of a place that we could have a public meeting. The one that we had the last time on that Saturday at the church, we had ample space, but the problem is that people tend to gather in clusters, and that's not healthy. So, and it's hard to tell adults what to do. So I think it's better that we do it online right now. And I think our health director would agree. So thank you very much. If there's no other comments, we've excused our alderpersons. We've had our discussion. We can move on to adjournment. So I call this meeting adjourned. Thank everyone for coming out.